afterwards. So good evening, and thanks very much for joining us to the CMSA Town Hall for the U14s to U19s on a beautiful evening here in Calgary. We want to start off tonight with a land acknowledgement and a welcome for everyone. So in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. We'll begin tonight with a quick video, and this is really a recap of what we did in 2022. For those who haven't seen it, it's an excellent example of CMSA and the community that we're all really a part of. It shows that we do more than just operate a league. We want to make sure that we're developing community, that we're building culture, and most importantly, that we're also producing some memorable experiences for our young athletes, for our coaches, for our referees, and also for our parents and administrators. So sit back, enjoy this as a reflection of 2022 as we hope to build on this and do even more in 2023. So again, we want to build community, we want to build collaboration amongst our membership, and we also want to ensure that the game is in a fantastic place here. You can see that we're doing everything we can, from building facilities and supporting those to putting on our grassroots league for our youngest players. We really want to make sure that our players and everyone involved got a fantastic experience, and we're listening to feedback. We're also trying to refine our internal processes so that we can be the best organization that we possibly can. And that 2023 video looks even better than the 2022. So who am I? I'm first of all lucky and honored to be with you tonight and to be sharing some information and having a discussion with you as well. My name is Jordan Stewart, and I am the CMSA technical leader. I've worked with players all the way from U8 straight through the university level and senior levels, and I'm the former Alberta Soccer Regional Coach South and Alberta Recs Director. Part of my role there was around player development, district outreach, and coach education. And really, I've got experience working within just about every single level of the game in Canada, other than the CPL and the UWS so far. So I've got a fairly diverse experience and a good cross-section on the game here, not only in Alberta, but also in Canada as well. There's two people on the call as well tonight who need to be introduced. Unfortunately, we don't have slides prepared for them. They're a little more shy, but that's Rachel Hugh, our league coordinator, who has been staring in front of an Excel spreadsheet for weeks now, trying to get the schedule produced and doing a fantastic job there. And also Kim Kerr, who is really the unsung hero of CMSA. The hours and dedication that she puts in are second to none. And honestly, we wouldn't be where we were, or where we are, pardon me, if it wasn't for Kim and Rachel. They are valuable people in this organization and also in the Calgary soccer community. So we're lucky to have them. They're on the line as well to help answer any sort of league related questions and also to monitor the Q&A. So if you haven't found the Q&A yet, the Q&A is there and accessible all night for you to be able to interact, to ask questions, and really to ensure that this is a dialogue. So I'll start off tonight around the technical plan that I was originally brought in to write for CMSA and to provide direction from a technical lens for the organization. We focused on 3 spheres around govern, develop, and grow. And I wanted to provide just little updates for people as to where we are and where we're going, because this provides really the roadmap of what the technical area of CMSA looks like. So player development, our coach development and education, our league structures, and some other activities that we're doing as well. You can definitely hit pause on the YouTube and give this a view. I won't be going into a great deal of detail, but on your screen, you can see things like match rule modifications that have been done, some parent education with those modifications, and then also things like this, like the CMSA town halls prior to all seasons to educate, explain, and answer any questions from parents, coaches, and if there's players, referees, or administrators on the line as well. The next sphere is around the develop portion of the game here and really around that technical plan. You'll see some pieces have been delayed. Some of those bits are around the viability right now of some of those things, and also some of the initiatives that have come down the pipe from both Canada Soccer and Alberta Soccer that might have not derailed, but just delayed some of these initiatives. We want to be leaders and we want to be innovators within the game in Canada and definitely within Alberta. And we feel like we're doing that in this develop sphere. We are looking to educate coaches informally through our technical culture series. We're constantly having club connects and dialogue with our technical directors and admins at our clubs. And other things that we want to expand into are things like a parent development series and some parent development and education, and also around how the training environment actually looks at our clubs. We've been collaborating with numerous referee organizations to launch and relaunch some new referee education, some retention initiatives, and also some progression initiatives that we're really excited about that will see Calgary become the epicenter of referee development within Canada. And lastly is the grow sphere. The grow sphere was a slightly smaller sphere, but not saying that that's less important. All I'm saying is that some of these initiatives have been very, very big initiatives and have taken some time to get going. Some of these pieces around our Empower Her events, which is targeting and really advocating for the girls and women in Calgary soccer, and also some preliminary talks to be held around an esports league potentially to be launched. Obviously, those dates on your screen are a little ambitious, but definitely looking to explore other avenues that will engage our membership even further. I'd be remiss if I didn't speak to what the Canada Soccer player pathway is, because at the end of the day, the player is the most important to us, and it needs to be at the center of our decision-making all the time. So what you'll see on your screen is you'll see stages 1, 2, and 3 at the bottom of this diagram that really signify a lot of the entry points into the game for kids. Most of us probably have gone through this, that are involved in this town hall right now, or maybe have a younger sibling or something that's involved in these stages, but really teaching physical literacy and encouraging basic soccer skills. You'll see here that the progression flows up into the diagram where there's a Soccer for Life community stream and a Soccer for Life competitive stream. You'll also see train to train leagues and how that progresses into learn to compete and train to compete. I wanted to make sure that we had a really thorough understanding of who operates where and what and how as well. So you'll see CMSA operates in 5 levels of this chart. You'll see that the AYSL is a separate entity that's operated by Alberta Soccer. And you'll see that players generally will flow up through the community and competitive streams into Soccer for Life community and competitive, which are CUSA, Calgary United Soccer Association, and Calgary Women's Soccer Association. Within there, you have the Alberta Major Soccer League, which is a provincial-wide league, and you'll have local district leagues like CUSA and Calgary Women's. Typically, players who are on a different pathway will transition into learn to compete and train to compete stages, which is Rex programs and Whitecaps boys programs in Calgary here, as well as into professional environments at the top here, which is Cavalry FC, and hopefully our new women's professional team at Calgary Foothills. The newest addition to this diagram is right here within League One Alberta in that train to compete, and it's a performance league for really university and college age players and targeted as kind of a semi-pro league. So a necessary piece in the pathway here in Alberta to provide opportunity for players, for coaches, for referees, and others involved in the game. Here you'll see universities, you'll see colleges, USL2 and UWS operating. I'm going to pause there and just take a quick sip. If there's anyone scrambling to ask a question, please put it in the chat now and be more than happy to answer about the player pathway. Okay, I don't see anyone typing yet, so I'm going to continue. This webinar is really around the LTPD stages of stage 4. So if I go back for 1 second, this stage 4, stage 5, stage 4.5, and stages 7 as well. So stage 4 is your train to train. So these are the standards-based leagues. This is about identifying the elite player and then working with them as well. You'll see here recommendations from LTPD around game formats, around roster sizes, around durations. And this document is starting to show its age a little bit. So we'll move on and I'll show you how this is transitioned. Then they'll typically move into the training to compete, which is your national team programs, if they're on that pathway, training to win into full senior national teams. And then where most of us will end up, and most of our children hopefully will end up, is in this active for life stage, where we play recreationally, where we enjoy the game, where we've maybe come through the meat grinder of sport, survived, and come back to coach, to be an administrator, to be a board member, to sponsor or donate to our local clubs that have given to us a little bit. And this is really where we as an organization want to focus to make sure that as many players are retained and coming through these programs in our clubs and through our league offerings at CMSA, so that we populate an active society and people are active for life. We want to make sure that that's not at the expense of the talented player or the player who's on an elite pathway at the 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old levels. And there are programs in place right now within Calgary to be catering towards those kinds of players. All of those sheets that you just looked at in terms of LTPD have really started to be summarized into the Canada Soccer Grassroots Standards. And while you won't see the 14s to 19s on this side, because that's typically a standardized format of the game across the country, what you will see is Canada Soccer moving to try and standardize what the game is and how it's delivered across all levels in Canada. This has had a dramatic impact on CMSA, and we've definitely had to make some significant modifications to both our league and to our coach education, as well as to our club standards, to make sure that these initiatives and this alignment can take place. This is something that we're prioritizing right now. And this is something that we feel like we've achieved in terms of our U5 and, well, I would say U7, pardon me, all the way through to our U13s. Obviously, there's a couple of little bits to brush up on, but for the most part, we've done that. And now it's about continuing to implement and continuing to evaluate. So what you've all tuned in for as well tonight is, what does Outdoor 2023 look like for the U14s to 19s? So before every season, CMSA is producing what we're calling our program handbook. And this is really our, I want to say our Bible, if you will, for our clubs to base their registration off of and design their registration packages for you, the parent, and for the consumer. What I would ask you all to do is to review your club's registration information. Is it aligned to the CMSA program handbook? Is it accurate? Are the season start dates the same? Are they the end dates the same? Is the formats the same? And review some of the costs associated with that. This handbook can be found on our website at calgaryminersoccer.com. And it's also a valuable resource that when you're thinking about registering for soccer, you can always turn to get the answers straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. The SQS Handbook is another resource that we've produced in order to align to all of the standards for clubs that are coming in across the country. This is a Canada Soccer-driven initiative that was approved by the provincial members and is really a way to mitigate any risk or some risk associated with our sporting environment, as well as to increase the standards within our clubs across the country. There is a deadline for this of May 1st, 2023, and these are 37 criteria that all clubs in Canada and all soccer providers will have to attain or achieve, pardon me, in order to continue being a club and a member in good standing. So if they want to continue being a part of sanctioned soccer and access to competition and numerous other things, these are requirements of all clubs, regardless if they are a National Youth Club license holder already, or if they have yet to be licensed as a Standards for Quality Soccer provider. The biggest piece of this is around the coaching standards and required training for coaches. And this is for all clubs. I'm sure that people have already heard about this, but if you haven't, I'll make sure to review it quickly. There are essentially two different safe sport rosters for coaches. And the safe sport roster is really how much coach training is required for those coaches to be working with players. There's a modified safe sport roster, which is U3 to U11 for CMSA. And CMSA has been able to determine where the line is between modified and full safe sport roster based on the delegation of these duties by Alberta Soccer. They have come to us and said, we want you to identify which programs need to be either modified or full safe sport. And thus we have drawn that line through consultation with our clubs at that U12 plus age group. So what does all of this mean exactly? Really, it's increasing the standards, and it's going to be a piece around CMSA monitoring, but also a piece around the club being accountable to themselves and to their members. So we see things like clubs putting one person who's completed Respect in Sport, that's RIS on your screen, on all team rosters to satisfy the requirement. That will no longer be good enough and no longer be up to standards. All coaches will need the required training to be eligible on rosters. This actually goes further into team officials and people like managers, or if there's therapists, or if there's sports psychologists, that all of these people need to have the required training in order to be present on rosters and to be active within those teams. There's also a piece on the club to do what's right and not what is easy, because their willingness to adhere to these basic standards are going to determine their longevity in soccer. And it's not a threat. It sounds like a bit of a threat, but it's not. And I want to make sure that it's not. But this is research back that says that if you have a qualified coach who's got the right training, teams will lose about 5% of kids per year compared to an unqualified coach who will lose about 26% per year. So really, this is about retaining people in the game. This is about giving them a great experience and about raising the level of the sea so that all ships rise as well. The minimum coaching standards that we have in place for this outdoor 2023 season can be seen on your screen. And you'll see here that our U15 plus and really our U13, where most of you are plus, you'll see check marks, which is required for all team officials, whether they're coaches, assistant coaches, or team managers, as I was referring to. You'll see stars, which is required education for coaches and for assistant coaches. And you'll see here a theory portion of their coaching course and the practical on-field portion. And then you'll also see a plus, which is really the recommended coach training that we would ask for players of those levels. So you'll see here, C license certified is really what we would recommend to be working with these players, really U12 and above. You'll notice that it says certified, not in training or trained. Certification means that they've gone through an evaluation process, they've completed the course, and they've completed Make Ethical Decisions. Trained means that they haven't been evaluated and they have simply done the course and completed the Make Ethical Decisions course and the Make Ethical Decisions workshop evaluation. I want to pause there for a second. I saw something come in through the Q&A. Something about quadrants. Thanks, Rachel, for answering that. I appreciate that. We would ask that anyone on this call also be asking their coaches what sort of coaching qualifications and certification that they've done. Because on your screen right now is the list of courses, Grassroots, that CMSA is running and offering, the dates, as well as the registrations on the left and the total capacity on the right. You'll see that we have an enormous capacity to work with some of our coaches, especially at some of these age groups around active start and fundamentals, our entry level really to the game, and then our learn to train in soccer for life. We've seen a fair amount of uptake in those, but we would still like to try and fill those courses up and to be making sure that these coaches have gotten an education and are prepared for the season, really, with some tools in their tool belt to go and have a great season and to be able to interact with players well and to set out sessions that are both challenging and enjoyable. So again, I would ask you to, if there's coaches on the line that haven't registered yet, I would ask you to get on it. And if there's parents, I would ask you to ask your coaches what they've done and if they've completed some of these courses and certification. We've also produced this coaching pathway document, which is really around the minimum standards that we expect. And it's kind of a roadmap for these coaches to follow so that there's some guesswork taken out of it and that they can chart their progress step by step by step. This document also lives on our website, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time. Into some of the bones and the nitty-gritty, really, of what the season looks like. So Tier 1 and Tier 2 at our U14 to U19 leagues will have a split season. It is culturally deeply embedded in Calgary here that August seems to be a time of family and of no footy or provincial play. So typically August is off. And we made the decision a couple of outdoor seasons ago to expand this outdoor season so that we reduce the amount of fixture congestion. So reduce that cramming of games because of rainouts or smoke or locusts or like that. And really to allow for us to adhere to proper long-term player development principles as well, so that we don't have 3 and 4 games in a week and that we can try to do things more appropriately. The Tier 3s and 4s will have a single season, which will end at the end of July. They'll obviously all be playing an 11v11 format, and all of the fields and goals will be in alignment to the IFAB laws of the game and will be FIFA regulation size. CMSA provides all fields for these league games, and thus we try to standardize some of the days that they play on to make it consistent for families. And while we may not always achieve that 100%, that is our overarching ambition and goal with creating a schedule. We wanted to make sure that there was awareness really about how we actually build the schedule, because there's always some questions around that. So we want to make sure that we're really clear and we work through this with our membership and with some players. So you'll see here that we start with Tier 1 declarations, which is really the club submitting their Tier 1 teams to us and to start to build out what our leagues actually look like. Then all of the clubs will enter all of their teams into the system, which happens this year on April 3rd. So it's already happened where we get all of the teams and we begin to build the divisions and we consolidate all the requests and send any revisions back to the member clubs. We then bring in all of the clubs and invite them all in for what we call our Club Connect for our league alignment. So we bring in the technical staff, the technical directors of these clubs, really to go through division by division and team by team to discuss where the right level is for that team and for that group of players. Sometimes they'll move some older age teams down an age group, which is totally fine. Sometimes some younger age group teams will move up. And sometimes, based on necessity, we will have to combine age groups or potentially combine tiers because there just isn't enough teams entered to actually have a viable league. We then send this out to the clubs. They had a weekend this year to go through it, to revise it, to submit any sort of changes that they felt that they might have missed. They send it back to us. We compile it one more time, and then we look to have these preset play dates where we schedule teams on. We try to be accommodating, especially at our U17 and U19 age groups, to be moving those games off of the weekend to allow for these athletes to have a social life, to go out of town, to pick up a part-time job, and to do other activities, or potentially even coach or referee to earn some side income. We'll see how that's received this year, but we're eager and we're excited about that initiative to try and give some life back to players who have given a lot to the game as well. We then go through all of our field permits, which you can see here, which is what we essentially have rented from the city. We get a ton of field permits, we sort them, and then we align those dates and teams to the field permit. We build the schedule, which a lot of people think is just put all this stuff into a computer and hit generate, and then it spits it all out. And a lot of people go, I don't know what takes so long. But if Rachel and Kim want to unmute and maybe share how many hours they've put in to date for the scheduling, I'm sure some people would be shocked. If you don't, and that's totally fine as well. I guess they are shy tonight. They're just working the keyboards. Rachel and Kim then look to manipulate all of the schedule. So doing a manual review and tweaking that schedule. So they really can fine tune it so that we don't have, say, a Cochrane team playing at 8 a.m. out at the Macron Center, ideally, and to try and look at it from a holistic player kind of lens. We are trying to get a home and an away, where the home game is within the quadrant of the city where the club is based, and then your away games, and trying to find an equal balance of that as well, based again on our field permits that we have access to. There's then rescheduling that happens, of course, due to locusts and lightning and smoke and whatever else. And then they really do it all again come the next indoor season or the next outdoor season. You'll see there that this infographics from the indoor season, and you'll see a total of almost 5,200 games were scheduled in that indoor season across 60 divisions, not including tournaments. I'll just ask Rachel to unmute if she's got anything else that she would like to add to this.
Oh, you've let me unmute now. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, ask that question again, Jordan. I was trying to figure out how to unmute.
No problem. I was just saying, if you would like to add anything at all to this, just if I've missed anything, and if there's anything that everyone needs to know about the scheduling process as well.
No, I think you've pretty much nailed it. We've put in a lot of hours in this. Kim and I have had Good Friday off this month. It's been the only day. I think we feel like we're married to each other at the moment. We're hoping everybody likes it, and that's all I really have to say at this moment.
Okay. Either everyone likes it or everyone's disappointed equally, right?
Yeah, I hope everyone's happy, and I'd love to see some emails that, we've done a good job.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I mean, I know how much time you and Kim have put in, and the effort that this takes. So I'm sure that it will be well received, this outdoor. Yeah,
for the U13 to 19s, we scheduled 1,830 games, and U10s to 12, we did the 2,199. And that's not including grassroots 7 to 9s yet.
Right. And that's going to be another couple thousand in there. So
easily.
yeah, no small process and no short process either. So wanted to make sure that everyone on the call had an awareness of how that scheduling process works and really what we try and do and what goes into it. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
We want to speak as well around the Provincial Qualifier Cup competition, which is once again happening this outdoor. This will be for our U13s, our U15s, our U17s, and U19s where applicable. The bracket matches will be happening in late June, so please don't book random tournaments in late June. And you can also see the finals are July 15th and 16th, and they'll be held at the Calgary Soccer Center this year. You will see 3-person referee crews. What that doesn't mean is you're going to see 3-person referee crews of the very top officials that Western Canada has to offer. We want to make sure that we're offering opportunities for some of our younger officials as well to be assistant referees on the line and to be mentored in game by the center referees as well as by their mentors who may or may not be at these games. We want to make sure that this is done even better than it has been in the past. And so we're going to have the in-season seeding process happen again. And also we've delayed the timing of those first round matches until late June, which is really when we'll get to see, who plays who in those first rounds after our live draw that we do every season as well. This will be the qualifying mechanism for teams to go to provincials. We've definitely had feedback from some of our surveys that we've done that these processes and programs as well need to be evaluated, which is exactly what we are doing. And we're compiling that data in terms of comparing league winners and league runners up to those teams that go to provincials across the leagues. There's some questions that rolled in. We will get to those in a little bit. I'd be remiss if I didn't speak to the Biobounding initiative that's available across all of CMSA's leagues. This is an initiative that's allowing more players to play and more players to play at the level that's appropriate for them. So players are essentially placed at a potentially younger age group based on their growth and maturation rather than their chronological age. So just because it says that they were born in 2006, they might actually be considered a 2007 or maybe even a 2008 by their own growth and maturation. Children of the same age vary considerably, and some may be more delayed or advanced. So we need to make sure that our system and our programming and leagues can accommodate for all of these children as well. What happens is the club essentially reaches out to CMSA and fills out a form that says, we would like to bioband this player. They are supposed to be contacting parents and saying, this is the length of the biobanding, this is the reasons why, and submitting that with their application as well. We then approve them or go back to them with additional questions, and it is up to the club to be notifying the rest of the teams and other clubs in their leagues where the biobanding is taking place so that there's accountability, so that there's trust, and so that this is done appropriately. We did a quick analysis of 2 seasons, and the number of players that are placed on the top 1 or 2 teams that have been biobanded are incredibly low. So the notion that some people will come up with that teams are using biobanding to stack rosters and to put older players onto younger rosters simply isn't true. It is not an initiative that we have found yet to be done with malintent. And thus our clubs have been very receptive and have been very collaborative in working together with this. This doesn't look like the traditional sporting system that some of us might be used to or might be expecting. So it's definitely taking some time to get some culture change in, and also some understanding that what's right for one may not be right for the other, and to be as flexible as we possibly can while allowing a fair and competitive match experience. And it kind of leads into some other pieces where really we all set the standards of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable around the culture and around the game of soccer in Calgary here. You'll see there on your screen that wrestling with pigs typically end up covered in mud and you know what, and really the only one that enjoys it is the pig. So I would encourage you to think about this image. If you decide to have a go at coaches, if you decide to have a go at referees, if you decide to have a go at other players or parents, really this is a child sport. And the expectation would be that we behave as adults and as civilized adults and support these children, support the people that are involved in this community, because it can be a beautiful community or it can be a toxic community. And that's up to us to decide what we want. Some of our further initiatives that I was mentioning earlier within the technical plan are around the Empower Her initiative, which is the women and girls in soccer. You'll see here that the March 22nd Female Only Learn to Train Practical Coach Education course, we had to delay that, unfortunately. There were some errors and we'll be relaunching that in May. We hosted a April 23rd entry-level course for girls only so that girls have a pathway to become referees as well. We're going to be hosting a free play day just for the girls, and also the July 20th Women's World Cup watch party. We're going to have a little 3v3 tournament pre-game for female teams that want to register and emulate their idols in the World Cup. And we're looking to work with a club partner that is yet to be named, but we're working very closely with them right now. I know that there was a question around the refereeing piece that came up in the Q&A. So I would ask if you could type that in. That would be amazing, because I'll speak to it right now. I'll take a moment as well to look at some of the questions and potentially answer. Yeah, Drew, great question. Drew, I'll talk about that maybe at the end. That's a great question. I see there's some questions about clubs. Perfect. And then there's a question about the referee initiative. So I'll wait for that one to come through as I'm speaking. Perfect. So into the referees piece. You'll see here that it says extra entry-level courses, which is a fantastic word to be using. The extra is really an acknowledgement that we've had over 115 referees sign up this year to become new referees, and we've had to open 3 extra courses. So potentially another 75 new referees coming into the system, into the game this summer. Now, what some of you might be thinking is, oh, great, new ones, they're not going to be any good. Well, the thing is if we don't keep the new ones around, they never have a chance to be good. So this is where some of our culture and some of our behaviors need to be examined, and we need to be accepting that these people make mistakes and that there are some issues there that we're trying to address as well. We know that the referee quality and the referee numbers need to increase. As such, we're taking some initiative and making sure that happens within the Calgary region. One of the initiatives that we were happy to launch was Project Ref. Project Ref was a partnership with Kidsport, where any kid who was receiving Kidsport funding could take an entry-level course for free, and also get their gear provided for them, as well as any upgrading from district to regional level in terms of refereeing. This is a Kidsport sponsored initiative that CMSA is happy to partner with, along with Hockey Calgary as well. You'll see that the Teal Shirt campaign has come back and will likely be a mainstay of what we do here at CMSA. This is the acknowledgement that there are first-year referees within the system, and that you need to be gentle with these ones. They are learning. They are like a brand new player to the game. So it's definitely a daunting task to go out there and even blow a whistle in front of 100 people potentially. So these kinds of skills, we're hoping to embark some confidence within our young referees, as well as wrap them in a big woolly coat, which is what we call the mentorship program. So all of our all of our new referees will receive a minimum of 4 mentorship opportunities within their first season, where they will have an experienced referee that will come out to 4 of their games and not assess them, but help guide them and help to teach them while at the game, and also help to relate to them and connect them to the social community of refereeing. Because I never knew how beautiful and vibrant and diverse our referee social community actually is, and how these people interact and how they genuinely love each other. It's a very, very cool community, and honestly, it's one that I wish I would have found at a younger age, because one, you make some decent money refereeing, it keeps you fit, and the social community is fantastic. And then lastly, we're wanting to launch some mentor education as well, so that our mentors actually become better and better and better for those mentees and those new referees every single season. I'm going to pause there because I see some questions in the chat around referees. So provide home games, would like to leverage any CMSA referee initiatives with our local retention development program. Jens, you can feel free to reach out to us at info@calgaryminersoccer.com. I'm just going to type that in. Set up a time. There we go. Perfect. So I've considered that one that I've answered live, and keep moving on to our next piece, which is around coaches and the free education that's being offered right now. So Sport Calgary had released a number of courses and modules really that coaches could be taking to further their skills, and maybe also our parents could be taking as well to really gain an understanding and to expand their knowledge as well around what we are trying to do, but also what other organizations are trying to do for sport as well. A very powerful one is Keeping Girls in Sport, which is produced by Canadian Women in Sport. And it is a fantastic course that I would recommend anyone with a daughter or anyone involved in the girls' game to be taking. I think it's a nominal fee of it was free for a short time. I'm not sure if it still is, hopefully. But if it's not, it's a very small nominal fee to do that. There's also Stay in the Game, which is a great course for parents and coaches and administrators in and around the age groups that we're talking about tonight, the U14s to U19s, that really is trying to keep players in the game and strategies to help them stay in the game. There is, of course, Respect in Sport, the parent edition, that is free of charge. I know hockey requires all of their parents to be doing this. Otherwise, their child can't even take to the ice. So it's always interesting to me when people think that a police clearance and Respect in Sport and a coaching course is a far too high bar for our coaches to achieve, when other sporting organizations are actually requiring mandatory education of their parents as well. There's numerous modules within the NCCP and coach.ca in terms of anti-racism in coaching, asthma management, mental health and more, mental health in sport, and tons more. It's a great time to be educating ourselves and to be upskilling ourselves, no matter what our role is within the soccer community. One that I really want to speak to is the Sport Injury Prevention Research Center coach training opportunity that we have coming up here on May 5th. And it's associated with the Shred Concussion study that is going on at CIPRIC and through the University of Calgary. A few of our clubs have partnered with them to do some injury monitoring, but I would encourage you as parents to go and ask questions of your club to see how they're monitoring player injury, player health, and player well-being, because being a part of this study actually enables your child, if they get injured, to have front of line service to some of the leading experts within Calgary in terms of their sport med and injury recovery. I won't spend a lot of time going over this because Carla and Destiny are definitely the experts, but really it's an injury surveillance program with a ton of participants across Canada and in Calgary. They're trying to launch a neuromuscular training, which is really an adaptation of the FIFA 11 Plus, which leads to about 60% decrease in injury rates across different youth sports. And what they have added onto it is the concussion protocol and concussion reduction in terms of that head and neck stabilization piece. This is an example of what the neuromuscular training program looks like. It's a concussion targeted prevention exercises, as well as other injury prevention exercises within the warm-up, and then also within a strength component. And they're right at the prime time right now to be getting coaches involved, and to also be including clubs and teams who want involved with this surveillance project. Coaches, you will get 2 NCCP credits for this, and players are to use the warm-up all the time before practices and games. They'll take part in the SHRED concussion study, and then they'll go through some baseline testing within the next few weeks here, so that the study has some sort of metric to compare against. If you want more information, you can visit that QR code that's on your screen, or send an email to that email, or look up some more information at shredconcussions.ca. It's a fantastic program, and we're delighted to be advocating for it, and also partnering with this organization out of the UFC to be developing some research to help us better our practices and our clubs better their practices as well. I would be remiss if I didn't speak to everyone about what the player fees actually were for CMSA, and really where those player fees go, because I think this is important for people to have an understanding of exactly what's collected, and in a transparent manner for you to know where your payments are going as well. So you'll see there that the CMSA per player registration fee is essentially the same for the 14s and 15s at either $179 or $171, depending on the tier. And out of that comes an ASA fee, which CMSA pays to ASA, and that per player fee is $29.40. You'll see that the 16s and 17s are either $187 or $183, and then the U19s are $183 that come to CMSA. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that really we collect and retain a little under $150 for your U14 and 15 players, a little over $150 for your U16s to 19s. And the price per match day per player is around between $10.11 and $11.26 per match that they play. And that's assuming that they play 14 matches across the season. There are leagues that have 16 matches, there are leagues that have 15 matches, and we offer a range between 14 and 16 matches for our seasons. So where do those CMSA fees go? That in and around $150 odd, right? Well, most of it is league costs. Most of it is booking fields, is paying the referees, and other league related expenses. There's also a facility fund contribution where a part of your fees help contribute towards future facility projects and upgrades, like the Calgary West Soccer Center renovation and the new Shoal Ice Bubble facility. There's a donation to Kidsport, as Kidsport funds soccer players to the tune of almost $500,000 just within Calgary, I believe. So we need to make sure that we're contributing back to that and keeping the game as accessible as we can for all. Obviously, Alberta and Canada Soccer fees go towards those organizations as well, and those governing bodies. And then a small portion of the fee actually pays for the CMSA staff that are both with you tonight and not with you on the call, and things like keeping the lights and heat on so that we don't freeze through the winter. And when we say a small portion, we truly do mean a small portion. So this gives you an idea, at least, of where your fees go. And lastly, this is more of a when an injury happens, not if. People need to make sure that they have an awareness of this, because this is a key component and a service that you all have access to being involved in sanctioned soccer. If an injury happens, within the first 30 days of that injury happening, you have to fill out a form which is located on Alberta Soccer's website. I apologize for not linking it here, but I will make sure that it gets linked in other town halls as well. What that does is it essentially notifies ASA's insurance holder and insurance company that there is an injury. You have to get that in within the first 30 days of injury. What then happens is if you have personal insurance, you will use up the funding for that. So imagine that you have $500 for physio. Well, you will work through that $500, and then Alberta Soccer's insurance kicks in after that, after the personal insurance money has run out. Any physio and rehab expenses can add up very, very quickly and can exhaust that personal insurance very quickly. So highly recommended. Even if you stub your toe, fill out a form, because you never know what happens and you never know what you might need later on. This is a quick one. I love how high performing and quiet this group is. So really, I'll leave you with this video and open it up to any questions that you may have. And really a promotional video to help gain interest and to bring registration and to bring people into the community of soccer. But really it's around some of the core pieces of what people are getting out of the game in terms of fun, belonging, community, enjoyment, fitness, competition, all of these pieces around that make CMSA what it is. And we thank you really for being a part of our community and for making the community what it is. So with that, I will open up any questions. Our contact information is on the screen there. And we'll keep the line open for a little bit here. That image on the left-hand side, I always leave our clubs with and leave any chat with, in terms of we need to continue to operate on that right-hand side of the image where we can pull the game in a great direction and in a similar direction, rather than working in opposition or working in no direction at all. We have a real opportunity here to continue to grow the game and to progress players and to rally around the success of our men's and women's national teams and to continue to grow the game. So thank you again for tuning in. I'm going to turn my attention to the Q&A. If you don't have a question, please have a great evening, and thank you so much for giving us some time tonight and joining us. So just a couple of questions that have come in. Some details around the injury claim to ASA Insurance. Please visit the Alberta Soccer website, and under the members tab, you'll see the insurance information. There was also a question around where will provincials be held. Right now, we don't have any locations from Alberta Soccer, but as soon as we do, we post it for everyone and ensure that that information is disseminated really, really quickly. There's a question around what is the max number a team is supposed to field per game. In an 11v11 format, that would be 11 players on the field, 1 goalkeeper and 10 outfield players. If it's around a roster size question, the max number that we allow on any roster is 20 players for these age groups. And this is in alignment to Alberta Soccer and their regulations as well. Excellent. Well, it seems as though people are dropping off the call left, right, and center, and that the Q&A has slowed down. So once again, thanks everyone for attending. If there are any further questions, please send them into info@calgaryminersoccer.com, and it will then be distributed to the appropriate person from there. Hope you all have a great night, and thanks for spending some time with us this evening. Enjoy the rest of the outdoor season, and we look forward to seeing you all on the pitch. Take care. Drew, apologies. For those who have dropped off, my apologies as well. This will be on the YouTube for sure. Drew, sorry that we forgot about your question. I'm just rereading it now here. The question was, does CMSA recognize the challenge that such a fragmented club system, it makes it very difficult to appropriately tier kids because the age group pool is so small at each club? Is there a strategy to address this in the city? Some clubs can't host certain age groups. Some only have very limited registration in certain ages. And they are forced to play up or down from their most appropriate tier or age group. So I think that there's a couple of ways of looking at this. Firstly, fragmented is an interesting word, and I would prefer a very diverse club system. We've got a total of 34 clubs that compete within our leagues and 25 within our district. And while it can always be debated, is that too many? Is that too little? What we know we have is we're trying to create access for players into the game. We've had numerous people come to us over the past 2 years looking to start a new club. What we haven't done is we haven't said yes to anyone, because we believe that people need to be working together within our club system and for the better of the player and for the better of the game. So in terms of a strategy to address a fragmented club system, it depends on how you look at it. And right now, we don't feel as though our club system is fragmented. We feel as though our club system is diverse. And really, at the end of the day, competition between clubs will lead to innovation and will lead to them being better. In terms of not being able to host certain age groups, we've seen a number of clubs admirably look to find homes for players who they either did not have a team for or did not have a level of competition for. The amount of collaboration that I've seen over the last year and a half has been staggering amongst our clubs, and really they should be commended for that in terms of trying to find players a good home if they aren't that good home for them. We know that there is a responsibility piece that all of our clubs have to be advertising appropriately, the levels that they offer, the maybe teams that they offer. And if clubs and our system continue to offer a blanket registration, hoping to put teams together based on an influx of players, that rarely happens and is definitely difficult to achieve. So there's some responsibility that clubs need to be taking in terms of if they are opening it to everyone and making sure that they can find homes for those players if they don't have a viable team for them to play in. I hope that answers that, Drew. I'm just going to mark that as answered live. There's a question here from Alex. Was there discussion about the teal shirt referees and the club coaches, spectators to referee relationships? Alex, yes, numerous mentions about that. You can review it on our YouTube page when this is uploaded in the next day or so. But yes, teal shirt referee was mentioned. Expected conduct and cultural implications were mentioned as well, to all parents, to all coaches, to all players, to all administrators that were present as well. So thank you, Alex, for your question. Philip has got a question around, is there a limit to the number of call-ups per player? There is a limit to the number of call-ups per player. Kim's typing an answer, and all of these sort of answers in terms of call-ups and those questions are found in our rules and regulations as well, which are updated, and we're trying to simplify and narrow down. So Kim has provided an answer for that, that it is 6 games per team that a player is allowed to be called up for. Okay, we're going to shut it down here for tonight. I want to thank the last 6 people for sticking it out with us. And Drew, thank you so much for your patience and reminder, really, for answering your question. Hope I've done it justice there. If not, shoot us an email and be happy to continue the conversation. Excellent. Thanks very much, everyone. And we'll look forward to seeing everyone on the pitch. Take care.